Every morning, Robert used to walk. Not far, not fast, just enough to feel the air, to stretch his legs. It was part of his life. Until one day, he skipped it. Just once. Then again the next day. And somehow, that once quietly became a habit. Weeks passed. Nothing felt wrong. He could still move, still go about his day. But one evening, as he stood up from his chair, he felt something unexpected. A stiffness, a hesitation, like his body needed a moment to remember how to move. What he didn't realize was he hadn't lost strength. He had slowly lost something far more important. Mobility after 50. My friend, I've seen this happen more times than I can count in my 30 years as a geriatric physician. And the truth is, it rarely begins with pain. It rarely begins with injury. It begins quietly, almost politely. You don't wake up one morning unable to move. Instead, your movements become slightly slower, slightly tighter, slightly less natural, and because those changes are so subtle, you adjust without even realizing it. You take small steps. You avoid bending too low. You sit a little longer before standing. Not because you must, but because it feels easier. And ease, my friend, is sometimes the most dangerous comfort of all. I remember one patient, a man named Harold, about 68 years old, a retired school principal, sharp mind, good heart. He used to walk every morning with his wife, just around the neighborhood. Nothing intense, nothing athletic, just consistent. Then one winter, it got colder than usual. He skipped a few mornings, then a few more. Then spring came, but the habit never returned. Months later, he told me something that stayed with me. "Doc, I didn't stop moving. I just stopped moving regularly." And that is how mobility quietly fades. Not through one big decision, but through many small ones. Here's the subtle danger most people don't talk about. When movement becomes optional, it slowly becomes less frequent. Not intentionally, not lazily, just naturally. Because the human body follows comfort, not effort. But mobility is not maintained by comfort. It is maintained by use, by repetition, by small daily movement patterns that remind your joints, your muscles, your balance, that movement still matters. Without those patterns, something begins to change. Your joints stiffen slightly, your muscles shorten just a bit. Your balance becomes less automatic, not dramatically, not enough to scare you, just enough to shift how your body feels. And here's the part most people miss. You don't notice what you've lost. You only notice what feels different. That slight hesitation when standing, that careful step on stairs, that quiet awareness of your body that wasn't there before. My friend, these are not signs of weakness. They are signs of reduced use. And reduced use is one of the most overlooked threats to healthy aging. Not disease, not injury, just less movement than your body needs. Your body is designed to adapt. If you move less, it prepares for less movement. If you move more, it prepares for more. It doesn't judge you. It doesn't complain. It simply follows your pattern. And Robert's pattern had quietly changed. Not because he wanted to stop, not because he didn't care, but because life slowly shifted his routine. And when routines change, habits fade. And when habits fade, mobility follows. And my friend, mobility after 50 is not just about muscles. It's about memory, movement memory, the memory your body builds through repetition. And like any memory, if you stop practicing it, it slowly fades. Robert didn't decide to stop walking. That's the part most people misunderstand. There was no moment where he said, "I'm done walking." It just happened. One morning, he woke up feeling slightly tired. Nothing serious, just one of those mornings when the bed feels warmer than the air outside. So he stayed inside, just once. The next day, it rained. Then another day came with errands. Then a busy afternoon. And soon, the habit faded quietly into the background. Not forgotten, just postponed. Until one afternoon, something small changed everything. He was visiting his grandson, a bright little boy full of energy. They were sitting together in the living room, playing with toy cars scattered across the floor. One car rolled a few feet away. Without thinking, Robert bent down to pick it up and paused. Not long, just a second, but enough to feel it. A tightness in his legs, a hesitation in his movement, something unfamiliar. He still picked up the toy, still stood back up, but something felt different, less fluid, less automatic. Later that evening, he sat quietly alone, not afraid, not worried, just thinking. And that moment, that quiet reflection, is something I've seen many times. Because awareness doesn't always come with pain. Sometimes, it comes with hesitation. He realized something surprising. Months ago, he never paused like that. Months ago, bending down felt natural, effortless, unnoticed. And the only thing that had changed was how much he moved. Or rather, how little he moved now. That's when it clicked. Mobility wasn't something he lost overnight. It was something he had slowly stopped practicing. And my friend, this is a truth many people discover too late. Mobility is not permanent. It is practiced. Just like handwriting, just like balance, just like memory. If you stop using it, your body doesn't panic. It simply adjusts, quietly, efficiently, and sometimes that efficiency becomes your limitation. When mobility begins to decrease, it doesn't announce itself loudly. It shows up quietly, in your confidence first. You begin to move more carefully, not because you're afraid, but because your body feels less certain, less automatic. Then, it begins to affect your choices. You take the elevator instead of the stairs. You sit instead of stand. You avoid bending, twisting, reaching, not consciously, just naturally and slowly. Your world adjusts around that, becomes more convenient, less demanding, which feels easier, but comes with a hidden cost. Because movement is not just physical, it is deeply connected to independence, to freedom, to dignity. I once treated a woman named Margaret, 73 years old, fiercely independent, lived alone, took pride in doing everything herself. Then she gradually stopped walking daily. Within a year, she told me something heartbreaking. "Doc, I still can move, but I don't trust my body like I used to." That sentence stayed with me because confidence in movement is just as important as strength. When mobility declines, circulation slows slightly. Balance becomes less automatic. Coordination becomes less precise. None of this stops you immediately, but it slows you, and that slowing changes how you feel. Less active, less capable, even when your body still has potential, because your body still remembers movement. It just hasn't been reminded often enough. And the longer that continues, the more unfamiliar movement begins to feel. Not impossible, just unfamiliar. And unfamiliar movement creates hesitation. And hesitation creates limitation. Not because your body failed you, but because it adapted to less demand. Robert didn't need a gym. He didn't need a trainer. He didn't need intensity. He needed consistency. So he started small, very small. The next morning, he walked again. Not far, just to the end of the street and back. At first, it felt different. His legs felt stiff. His steps felt slower. But something else felt familiar, comforting, like reconnecting with an old friend. The next day, he did it again. Same distance, same pace, no pressure, no stopwatch, no expectations, just repetition. And my friend, this is something I tell my patients all the time. The body responds to frequency, more than intensity. Small movements, done daily, will outperform big efforts, done occasionally. After about a week, Robert noticed something subtle. Standing felt easier, turning felt smoother, walking felt less uncertain. Not dramatically, but noticeably. Because mobility doesn't require perfection, it requires repetition. He also added simple moments throughout his day. Standing more often, stretching lightly while waiting, walking short distances instead of sitting longer. Nothing formal, nothing complicated, just intentional movement. And that, my friend, is where true longevity habits begin. Not in the gym, not in extremes, but in daily habits aging built into ordinary moments. And over time, those small choices rebuilt something powerful. Not just strength, but confidence. Confidence in movement. Confidence in balance. Confidence in independence. And that is what protects mobility after 50 more than anything else. A few weeks later, Robert bent down again. Same movement, same action. But this time, there was no pause, no hesitation, just motion, natural, effortless. And that moment told him everything. Mobility hadn't disappeared. It had simply been waiting to be used again. My friend, healthy aging is not about avoiding change. It is about responding when you notice it. Gently, consistently, without fear, without pressure, just awareness and action. Because mobility after 50 is not a gift you either keep or lose. It is a skill you maintain. Daily, quietly, faithfully. If you felt a slight stiffness lately, if standing takes just a second longer, if bending feels less certain than before, don't ignore it, but don't fear it either. Because sometimes, your body is not warning you. It is reminding you to move again, to trust movement again, to practice movement again. And when you listen to that reminder, something beautiful happens. You don't just regain motion, you regain confidence, you regain independence, you regain freedom, quietly, but powerfully. And my friend, I've seen this many times, far more times than I can count. The people who age well are not always the strongest, not always the fastest, but almost always. They are the ones who never stopped moving, even when life became busy, even when the weather changed, even when motivation faded. They kept moving. Not perfectly, just consistently. And consistency is the quiet secret behind lifelong mobility. And perhaps behind longevity itself.